Hello guys, today I want to show you one game where Stockfish got broken. Stockfish analysis is usually really reliable and you can always trust it, whatever happens and how it calculates it. But today this was different. So we're gonna go to a video that I have, a game I have here, which I played quite recently, some months ago, where I was 1575 and my opponent is called Jamie. I'm gonna reference it as Jamie. I'm gonna go through this game, show you what went wrong with Stockfish, and also just having you go through this whole video. So we start with the opening e4, the simple, always good, always reliable e4 with c6, the Caro-Kann. The Caro-Kann is a really easy opening. e4, d4, d5 is the idea, and just trading this center pawn with this outside pawn. It's usually good for black, and this is sort of the idea of the opening. Instead of that, you can play e5. This is the advanced version of the Caro-Kann. This is often used in the top levels as the reputation of the Caro-Kann opening, because this is sort of the way you can win with advancing your pawns, having just a big Baba center and trying to remain that center and kind of maybe push through on the king side. The main line is bishop f5, and I go now to the maybe most craziest but still kind of most fun line I know, is the Tal version. The Tal version is kind of simple with the plan in mind that you want to push these pawns to have an offensive on the king side, because the king always kind of usually castles here at the Caro-Kann. It's never gonna castle here. But we're not gonna stop from discussing the trap, because if black plays e6, you can kind of think about for some seconds what the best move is, because the best move is now g4. It's defended by the queen and the bishop has no moves to go. This is covered. This is covered by the bishop or the pawn. This is covered by the queen. This is not covered yet. We're going to look at that, but the bishop cannot go back because now the pawn is there. And if the bishop goes here, we play h4. If the bishop goes here, we play f3. And these are the moves where we are now winning. He cannot go here, here, here because of these pawns. Here because of the bishop, queen, and everything. And here is just defended by the queen. So the bishop is kind of trapped and we win the bishop. Maybe in the best move here, taking this. But we have g4 either way, because my opponent played h6, which is kind of a lame move, but this is a book move. This is kind of how you avoid this whole stuff. But he can go back and you play e6 now. For the untrained eye, this is just a pawn sack. But for the trained eye, you see that the black bishop has no way of going outside of this all. This is kind of always blocked for the black bishop. And that kind of stops development. Even this diagonal is usually kind of weak for the black position, and having this pawn sacked, even if black's theoretically now up one, is for the engine already +1. So this is kind of a advanced move, but really good for white. Always recommend e6. I played bishop here. We ignore what happened. After we see f6. This is kind of like refuting the e6. It's just a bad move basically, but because it lets still my pawn do his job, not letting this bishop develop, but you don't open up the king side as much. So that's kind of the idea of this. With that, I trade my bishop. This is a bad move. It still already says this is the best move, directly punching everything here while not having any development there. But it doesn't matter, to be honest. Instead of having queen d6, just immediately going active with the queen, which is an odd move, to be honest. It's really not natural. But instead of that, we have g6, and I instantly want to punish this. This takes is bad because after bishop takes, I'm just kind of active. I see this rook can still go here, and this does seem dangerous. But I'm just basically better. I can win this pawn in the future. I can just try to infiltrate. It's just a really easy position to play for white and really just comfortable. He played g5, and we already see where we will go in the future. As you see, this is like sort of locked for black. Black does not want this whole structure to be like this in the first place. And if we manage to play f4, f5, we kind of make a cage around these pawns so they cannot move. We're going to see that and elevate that later. First of all, we have we have bishop takes bishop, rook takes bishop, queen up. Instantly trying to get into here, but the rook g7, there's just nothing. There's just basically nothing. Funny enough, with like black does something dumb. This is just a mate in one. But black is not stupid. Black plays this. I play not a4, which is now one of the best moves. Instantly going aggressive, going haymaker, seeing that these are really passive, just immediately going aggressive on this side is kind of the way to go. Or maybe even just a more aggressive queen move. But I have played c5 and c5, so c4, and c4 already gives the chance back to black, because I'm opening the center and black really does not have many moves, many restrictions anymore. Having this traded is really good for black, because now, first of all, we can already trade the queens, and because if I don't take the queen, he wins my rook. So the queen trade is kind of forced, and even though these pieces are really active, there is going to be a way to free these, especially because without a queen I cannot pose many problems. So that's why there's already a bad move. But after queen d6, not punishing it, I can just take and queen takes, which isn't bad for me, because I really have allowed black again this whole attacking the rook, and I wanted to play queen here, but as we all felt it already once in our lifetime, misclicks do happen, and I just completely blundered my rook this way. You know what? Many people would already give up. See, this is like just kind of frustrating to see, because you are so kind of have such a great position, but then just blundering your rook is just kind of But because I see this vision, which I'm going to show you later, I did not resign. I kept going. I played f3, defending my knight, so this cannot be taken easily. But still, the queen has just easy ways to get out. And even though I get some developing moves, this is just not enough usually. But my opponent is +5 and the engine says only +3. My opponent is sort of +5 up in material, but the engine says only -3. That's because these pieces are so passive, and they kind of sort of not get out. My idea was here and kind of try to push forward and maybe like get the knight in there to kind of prevent the rook of taking this pawn, and just kind of trying to hold the structure. This is the only probably good move. The knight else has no really options. I played f4, and to be honest, I sort of had this line in mind that this rook takes g4, and this is kind of good for me, because I sort of hold on to everything. I have an active knight, but this is also just really suboptimal. You should not play like this. Don't be me. But I was lucky. This castling was played. And this is already an inaccuracy, but I would even maybe say this is even a losing move. Not yet really, but this goes in the wrong direction, because now I have f5, and as we see, we have this structure, and these three pieces cannot get out easily. How do they get out? I'm going to come to that later. Stay tuned. But queen takes here, and really I could take, and go here. Oops, go here and kind of defend this pawn, but I decided to just try to hold on to this pawn as much as possible. But I gave this chance to black. And this is just simply, usually this would free up the square, that's why I didn't trade. So structure black has. And even here, engine says -3, which is so ridiculous. Maybe I would even say white is already winning here, and I'm going to tell you why. Bishop there, just having some moves, trying to be like poking at the black's position. That's already a mistake. And already here the engine says kind of white is better, you know. And that was a mistake because knight takes was the best move. Just kind of having, even by sacking a knight, just having these pieces having a pawn to break open again, even though this is just okay for black, because now you just get the pieces out. You get this piece out, and the bishop will get out sooner or later. And this was like sort of the last chance black really had, but with this I kind of win. Just basically, knight takes, rook takes, and this position. Just look at this position. Engine says -1. Black is much better. Okay, but this is just completely wrong. In this position, if you even play this against the Stockfish engine, you will see that you are winning. I'm going to show you why. This trade is kind of forcing a rook trade. Because the rook, I mean, you can sack for these pieces or go back, but either way, even after this, I'm maybe not quite sure if I should trade this, but having these rooks off the board, and engine says still black is better. This is completely losing. Black has 11 points here, and I have 6 here. But how is black going to get out of this mess? I'm going to tell you. The only way, physically, black can get out of this mess is, first of all, as we see, the knight cannot go anywhere. So the knight is just stuck. The bishop can move these squares. The only way black could ever get out is bishop here, I move away, and rook here. Hoping I wouldn't see that for some reason. And going out here. And then having again a rook to play with. Even that I wouldn't even say it's that winning for black, but you know what. And because that's the only way, because else there's nothing to be done. I always can take here the rook and the knight cannot move. I win a queen, I win the game. So these pieces are stuck forever. And I can just, okay, to be honest, what I think is ridiculous calling this a blunder is just, I mean, what are we doing? This is not a blunder. I mean, it kind of blunders a pawn, but you were losing either way. Not good for beginners to analyze this with the engine. But we take the pawn and we go back. We kind of poke into position. And already here, engine says +3, kind of realize slowly that we are down winning. So I can just, for example, sack this and just push, and just queening these pawns. I have sort of just ignoring this whole side of the board because there's nothing to be done. Playing now chess in a new version, 4x8, and we just win. We push these pawns. As I said, that's the only way black can even win. But I just take the rook, I take the knight with the queen, and I promote, and I win. With even an upcoming mate in 2. I was happy that I hope this was kind of exciting. I know this is like sort of a crazy game, and as you've seen, like Stockfish just cannot decide if black is winning here or not. And saying like black is better here in this position is just so crazy. Even as you see, like depth 20, 22, engine doesn't realize how bad it is. Even here, if you look, depth 24 still says black is better. Depth 27, that's 27 moves calculated in the future. And still Stockfish thinks black is better. We gotta teach Stockfish some chess. And I was happy you looked at the game with me. And I hope to see you again on this channel. And have a great one.